Hallmarkies podcast, and we are so excited. We are here to talk the finale of When Calls the Heart, When Calls the Hallmarkies podcast, and we have a great lineup here to talk it all out. And I'm Rachel. Amber's here.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah, and Amy Lynn Craig is here.
Hey there.
Yay. And Ruth is here.
Hey.
Yes, this is an all-star panel. We are so excited. So, yes, we had the finale after the Mountie revelation, I guess, in the last episode that had everybody up in arms. We get the finale episode, and so we're just going to talk about some overall responses and also talk about the Facebook live video press conference, whatever you want to call it, that they did, kind of clarifying things a little bit. We'll talk about that, and it will be a fun time. And we are going to try to give as many perspectives as possible, including we have...
Our own. I'm just kidding.
Yes, including our own, but also we have comments from Facebook and from Instagram and from everywhere else. So it's going to be really, really fun. What were your guys' overall thoughts of this episode, this finale episode? For me, I'll just start. For me, I actually thought it was a pretty solid episode. I thought it was pretty well made. One of the better as far as that cinematography was actually kind of pretty, the way they staged, and they had she was like the woman in black in places. Like, it was kind of artistic in a way that I haven't seen as much in the show. And I kind of appreciated that. And there was just sort of a feel to it. It was like all of a sudden it's become Jane Eyre or something. It was I was impressed. And I thought it was so smart that they focused on Opal and Rosemary in this episode, because you have all this sad stuff happening in this episode, and those are two of the most positive and well-loved characters in the series. And so I don't know, I just thought that really helped to kind of get you through the episode. And so overall, I actually felt positive about the episode itself. I have problems with their choices over the season as a whole, and we'll talk about that later. But Amber, what did you think?
Yeah, I was actually super pleased with the episode itself. Like you said, it was really good getting a chance to really focus on Rosemary and Opal outside of, obviously, Elizabeth, because, I mean, it was Elizabeth's episode in Elizabeth's world, and we're all just living in it. And like you said, the scene in the cemetery where Elizabeth was just, walking around and it was snow, I was like, oh my gosh. It's like wishing you were somehow here again from the Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah.
Very romantic and gothic in the best sense of those words. So I was just like, whoa. So seriously, straight from the very beginning. I mean, I tweeted 7 tweets last night because I was just so into the whole episode. And so it was really, I think they did a really great job with this episode. And we can talk about our overall feelings on the choices they made, handling things, but I feel like this episode was very well handled by the cast and the crew, and I really enjoyed it. I think it's probably the best episode of When Calls the Heart.
Mm-hmm. All right, Amy, what do you think?
I absolutely love this episode. It was just so beautifully done, and the cinematography was just amazing. And I loved how they brought in the widows and just how they were able to talk. And, I just think it was so amazing how they handled everything. And I agree, I think it was the best episode of When Calls the Heart. And it was, in my opinion, also the most beautiful episode they've ever done, just because the cinematography was amazing. And it didn't seem like an episode of One Calls the Heart to me, just because of how the camera work was done and how amazing it looked.
Ruth, what about you?
Oh yeah, I agree with all the things you guys have said. I really would have to say it's probably my favorite episode as well. And I thought it was beautiful. I thought it was well done. I had some emotional moments. There were some standout emotional moments for me that were really special, and I loved the part with the widows, and of course with Opal and Rosemary, and I thought everybody really rose to the occasion and gave their best performances, and it was amazing how much they were able to pack into that episode, because it was solid. It didn't lag. I thought the writing was very well done.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I've been screaming for steaks since like season 1, episode 2, and we got steaks. And I know a lot of people aren't going to like the price we had to pay to have steaks on this show. And I know a lot of people don't agree with the way it was done, but I could not be happier that there is now actually something that like grounds the characters into to like relatable characters, because it's not, to me, it's not relatable to always make the right choice.
Right.
So, and to always be able to work your way out of a situation. I mean, there are legitimately things you cannot work your way out of, but you can work your way through. So I'm excited to see how they develop that in the next seasons. I am excited to see way more meetings of the Widows Club, which, I mean, like I put this on my Twitter, and I really mean this. Have they been having Widows Club meetings like this whole time? And because Elizabeth wasn't invited, we didn't get to see them, because that's amazing. Widows Club for life, you guys. And then also, where was Hickam? Like, I did not see Hickam once this episode, and I was not pleased, which is ridiculous. But also I was like, where's Hickam? Hickam would be sad.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Well, so they started the episode with this, I called it the PSA from Lori Loughlin, giving this, like, you know, children, it might be intense for children. Was that really necessary? I feel like nothing in this episode was really like that, like, upsetting as far as the fact, like, I feel like nothing in this episode was like not any sadder than anything you get in like your typical Disney film, you know, where like characters die or like sad things happen. And I think that kids, I don't know. I mean, I feel like you have a lot of other things on the Hallmark Channel actually, where there's characters that die, where there's like, I mean, I don't know. We were talking A Signed, Sealed, Delivered. They have an episode where a character is raped. You know, we have an episode where there are darker things that have happened on Hallmark, and I don't know. I felt like it was a little over the top. And I don't know, not like we all know that what was going to be a part of this episode. So for Lori Loughlin to get on there and be like, guard your children, was a little much, I thought.
I agree with that, because my little brother, I watched it with him, and he was like, what about this episode was more than anything else he watches on TV, than a Disney Channel show or any of the movies and mysteries movies.
Yeah. I mean, children were the biggest part of the show.
Yeah.
Episode.
And I feel that was a direct response to people on the internet who were saying like, oh my gosh, this was so traumatic for my children. They will never be able to emotionally recover from the loss of Jack on Twitter last episode. And I feel like it was an unnecessary response, because those people were never going to be happy no matter what you do. And I mean, like, it's nice of them to try and please people and give people a fair warning. But like, it was probably the most respectful and careful consideration of someone dying in a TV show that I have maybe ever seen in my whole life. Like, maybe Anne of Green Gables, when Matthew dies, spoiler alert for Anne of Green Gables, maybe that was more, like, well handled. They didn't gloss over it. They allowed, I mean, this would be an amazing thing, I think, to watch and have, if there was a kid who wasn't exposed to death and they were like, what are they working through? What is going on? I feel like this would be an amazing opportunity to speak to your children about these things. So I just, that, like, I was like, are they going to show, like, his dead body?
Yeah, that's
like
what
that was the only thing I could even think of. And no, they didn't. So I don't understand it. I appreciate the effort, I guess, but also it seemed like pandering to a very vocal minority who I don't think even really cared about that. They just wanted to be mad about something.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to come to the defense of some of these people in
Well, I mean, in most of the cases that, like,
Mhm.
feel your feelings, guys. Feel your feelings. We're all about letting you feel your feelings. But I think, like, they were maybe pulling an Abigail and using their kid to get out of a situation they didn't want to be in.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, it was a little much. So
Ruth doesn't approve of that statement that I just made because Ruth is the nicest, but
What? No. Honestly, we all felt it was a little over the top, but I do know what I probably would say is, since it was on the Hallmark Channel instead of Hallmark Movies and Mysteries, maybe, and because usually on the Hallmark Channel everything is happy, and especially with When Calls the Heart, everything is happy, nothing sad, nothing really sad ever happens. Everything always works out. And so I'm sure, I shouldn't say I'm sure, I'm pretty certain that the responses that came out through the week, they probably decided, let's just do this. It probably won't make everybody happy, but maybe it'll make some people happy. I don't know.
yeah.
Maybe I think that they're trying to reach some of those vocal people, I guess you'd say, who said their kids were crying for 20 minutes afterwards. And I personally think it's a bit much, but then again, everybody's different and everybody's had different experiences. And I guess if you have only ever been exposed, and I do know these people exist and I have nothing against them, if you've only ever been exposed to the Hallmark Channel and that's all you've ever been exposed to, and like you never watch anything else, and your kids like never watch anything else, I suppose it was a necessary thing.
Yeah,
it's hard to put myself in that position, but I do believe there are people who seriously watch nothing but the Hallmark Channel.
Yeah. And we love them, but yeah, I think it's well said.
Yeah.
Very well said. So I'm going to share some different responses that we got on social media about the episode. So on Twitter, we have some different responses. Hunks of Hallmark says, I think Hallmark did the best they could given the situation. Dan wanted to leave, so they said bye. Still going to watch the rest of the series. And then we have Miss Livy J says, I don't feel like I can trust the story anymore. For one thing, we don't do sucker punch cliffhangers around here like they did last week. They left it too ambiguous last week, and then just, oh yeah, he's totally dead in the first few minutes this week. And then they just went with the most obvious and, in my opinion, laziest way to wrap that up. Oh, by the way, she's having a baby, so we'll talk more about that. Fangirl for sure says, my thoughts. Since Dan was leaving, you should have ended the show with the wedding. Then they could make occasional When Calls the Heart movies where we still got to follow their journey as they start a family, etc. A couple others here. Valerie J. Yelk says, I feel betrayed as a viewer. I support Daniel listens to Situation to Leave, but I blame Hallmark for not handling it well. I'd prefer a recast or to have not seen all the wedding, etc. I will no longer watch the show. And then we have Elizabeth Bees 17 says, I thought the cast and crew did a phenomenal job. It's a great show with a strong cast, and I'll continue to watch. So we have all over the board there. And so you want to read Malls there?
Yes. So Malls, friend of the podcast, said, hey ladies, first off, called it. As soon as she said, I have no appetite, the nurse in me shouted out loud, she's pregnant. Secondly, he is dead. No ifs, ands, or buts. There is no coming back from that. It was the darkest episode of all Hallmark episodes, literally ever. They went all out with sadness, grieving, crying, and Opal? Come on. Were they just trying to make literally everyone cry? Low blow, Hallmark. Low blow. And she said, sadly, I think Hallmark lost a huge fan base this week because of this turn of events. No Jack baby makes up for the dark turn that they took from their genius platform. They should have cut the ties this season and called it a day, ended on a happy note. You done messed up, Hallmark. Parties no more, malls. Which is
There you go.
pretty harsh, you guys.
Yeah.
All right. And then on Instagram, KHeart23 said, this was truly a great episode. So many emotions and great acting. Aaron Krakow did a wonderful job. And there are 3 clapping hands. And then it says, can't wait to find out what's in store for Hope Valley and Elizabeth on this new journey in season 6. And Van City Dreams 81 wrote like a novel, and I'm proud of them. Great job in creative writing. And they're basically, some things they said was that their friends and family and coworkers cannot bring themselves to continue to watch this, as this turn of events has completely spoiled the series. And they are just really upset.
Yeah.
Please feel free to come to our Instagram to read the whole thing, because it's very long and very eloquent.
Yeah.
And then Emily Ramsey 7731 said, good episode, amazing cast, happy there is a baby Thornton. Kira Lowe said, this episode had me crying so much. My sister and I are planning on becoming teachers ourselves. We got so much inspiration from this show, and we can't wait until next episode airs. We love all the characters in When Calls the Heart. Our hearts are still broken after the passing of our great hero, Jack. He will be missed. I am Emily Pope said, I thought it was great, real, and relatable. So there you go. Boom.
Yeah. There you go. Some great, really diverse responses, which is always good to have. It makes for great podcasting. So they did a good job with the podcasters in mind with this season. So well, let's start talking about the nuts and bolts of this episode. So you have it opens up with the funeral, and one thing that surprised me is that having Bill doing the eulogy and him like having this emotional, and I thought Jack Wagner did actually pretty good in being emotional, but I didn't realize that Jack and Bill were that close.
You didn't?
Yeah, I thought.
No. Like I thought they were friendly to each other, but I didn't realize it was like a father and son.
Oh, no, they were close. They've been close for, maybe you haven't seen it as much because Jack has been absent so much the past couple seasons. But oh yeah, they were close.
Okay, yeah.
Am I wrong in thinking when Bill came into the show that he had trained Jack?
Yeah, no, that's
beforehand.
true.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot that. Okay.
Yeah.
It's because it was a side storyline. Rachel doesn't pay attention to that.
It's true. Okay, there you go. Yeah, so that was interesting to me. I was like, oh, I didn't think I wouldn't have thought Bill would do the eulogy, but I guess it makes sense since he was kind of the other Mountie. So yeah, the funeral, and like we were saying, there was some beautiful cinematography in this whole sequence. It definitely had, to me at least, a little bit of sort of like a Jane Eyre vibe in just the colors and the way they shot her, like going into the with all black, going into the cemetery and stuff. And so I thought that was cool. So basically, Rosemary has been taking over, substituting for Elizabeth. And I'm sure, Ruth, you could definitely relate to this very much.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I thought it was neat that Rosemary was willing to do that because was it Florence that was supposed to be doing it?
Yeah, it was Florence.
Yeah.
She was too busy working on building up Floyo, so she couldn't babysit.
Well, but no, I thought it was great that Rosemary was willing to step in because poor Rosemary. I could relate when she comes to Lee and said she feels like a failure. I could relate to that because I know exactly how it is. And I think teachers in general can relate to that. You have that day where it's just, you don't know what you're doing, you aren't getting through to the kids. And I thought that whole little exchange between Lee and Rosemary was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked when she said, I'm doing an adequate job, but to me that is a failure.
Right.
And
right.
I totally relate to that.
Yeah.
That's the way I am. Like if I do if we have an episode of the podcast, not that there have been any, but if we happen to have one that feels sort of cursory and just like by the numbers, then like it feels like, oh, that wasn't.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because we want to be great. We want to be the best.
Yep.
So
Right.
so send us your hateful comments so we can improve.
Right. Yeah, so it was really cute, and I loved when she had the math problems on the board. She just like looked at him like in horror. That's the way I look at math problems.
It was honestly hilarious when they're like, yeah, and she leaves some room for us to solve them. She had like 85 questions on the board. I love Rosemary.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Don't you agree though that it was so smart to anchor this episode in Rosemary and Opal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also think it was nice to be able to spend that much time with Rosemary, even though she didn't really talk much about her, her dealing with her grief with losing Jack. But I would imagine that Rosemary and Jack, despite the meanness that he gave to her in the wedding episodes, I think Rosemary and Jack were probably the closest people, and it was probably the hardest on Rosemary outside of Elizabeth.
Well, oh yeah, because hadn't they known each other since they were like really like they were young?
Yeah, since they were kids,
Yeah.
and they were going to get married.
Yeah.
And then she was like, I'm going to go be famous. And then she was like, JK, let's go get married. And he's like, I've moved on. And she was like, JK, I love Lee. And it was great. But like, when I saw Rosemary up there, I was like, poor Rosemary also. And then, they didn't talk about it much, but I liked that we were able to still spend time with her.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you think, Amy, of Rosemary?
I think it was really good that they were able to focus on her, because I feel like Rosemary's kind of like, she's a very like not out there, but like happy kind of upbeat character, and everyone's always like, oh, what is Rosemary going to do next? So I think focusing on her and how she just was trying to, keep things together with the kids for Elizabeth and everything. I think that was really good that they did that. And also that Rosemary picked up on Opal, that Opal wasn't acting right, and picked up on that. I really like that they did that.
How sweet was it when Opal says, are we supposed to call her Mrs. Thornton?
That was Hattie.
Or was?
It was, yeah.
Oh, I wrote it down wrong. Sorry.
You're right.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was so sweet.
I died. Like I was like welling tears basically the whole beginning, and then she said that and I was like, oh my gosh. The kids just, every time the kids did anything, I was just a mess of tears.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so yeah, all the kids get together and I said the world's first Hallmark card.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was very sweet.
I would actually say that was the first Hallmark keepsake ornament.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It wasn't really a card. It was a.
Yeah.
Oh no, you're right. They did the card first.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
card. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
And it was very sweet. And we, they're like, we miss it, Mountie Jack also, which was really sweet. And, giving Elizabeth, and I loved Opal, bless her heart, for lingering longer and giving Elizabeth an extra hug. That was so sweet.
Yeah.
And the little Ava, I think is her name, the actress.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
She's great.
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah.
She's amazing. Not to belittle the rest of the actors in the show, but she kind of carried this episode.
Yeah.
This episode, yes, I agree.
Yeah, they were, obviously Elizabeth was acting her little heart out and everybody else was doing a great job. But really, the heart of this episode, because, Elizabeth was the grief of the episode, but the heart of the episode was really Opal.
Yeah.
And
I kind of feel like she was sort of the stand-in for the audience.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of asked the questions the audience would ask, and she was sort of like the audience would. She was like the Hardy for that episode, like giving her hugs and stuff. And so sweet.
I think Opal saying, I never got to say thank you to Mountie Jack. I think that was so relatable to the audience too, because I know I've lost people and I haven't been able to it's like, oh, but I didn't get to say goodbye, or I didn't get to say I love you before we lost them. And I think that was, Opal was kind of representing that, oh, I didn't get to say thank you. I didn't get to say goodbye before we lost him. And, such a little girl was feeling that. And I think that was a really good representation of how people feel when they lose somebody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it made Elizabeth realize that she wasn't alone.
Yeah.
that there was another person who'd been saved by Manti Jack. So sweet.
Yeah. And I said this in our Twitter, and I 100% believe it, and I feel like it deserves being said all the time, is that the only way to really find happiness is through service of others.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, everyone else was just trying to do things for Elizabeth.
Mm-hmm.
But when she was able to help Opal deal with her grief and her sadness and her feeling of, never going to be able to do all the things that she hoped she'd do, like even just tell Mountie Jack thank you for saving her life. Her being able to help Opal work through it was a way for Elizabeth to not only work through it herself, but to step outside of herself and help someone. And that's how you get happy.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was just and those two actors, I think, almost always have chemistry, whether it's a silly scene or like at the store with the chocolate, or I don't know. Aaron Krakow, I think, has good chemistry with all the kids, but I think her people have a special chemistry.
Yeah,
so. Then we get another letter that Abigail has that Jack had written to Elizabeth, and so this was very, sweet. And overall, I thought this episode was very sweet. How about you, Amy? What did you think about Jack's letter?
I really loved that he had given Abigail that letter, and I think that just kind of showed what type of guy he is, that he wanted to make sure he would be able to say goodbye even if he wasn't there anymore. But also when he wrote I don't remember the exact wording, but make sure to open your heart to love again. That reminded me of what Carson said.
It was literally the exact same phrasing.
I was shocked that they were already pulling that kind of language out. Like, I wouldn't, like that, I was really surprised at them. They're already,
And like, my tinfoil hat was like, holy crap, Casey was right. Like, Carson is who they're going to ship Elizabeth with. Oh my gosh, all the Faith and Carson ship fans are going to be so mad. It is going to be crazy. That'll be fun, I think.
I think it was pretty clear. Like, the first person she goes to talk to, or what after Abigail, is to talk to Carson and find out about what he experienced. And basically, like, she asked him, was moving away good for him? And he's like, yeah, it was good for me, but everybody's different. And I think that was a pretty big tell. We'll see. Maybe they'll surprise us, but I don't know. I think Casey's right also. And we also do get, this is the scene where we get Bill getting upset about never having told Jack that he thought of him as a son. So that was very sweet. And I thought Jack Wagner did a good job in that scene.
Yeah. The only thing this episode I think was missing was there was no mention of Jack's family.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It would have been really nice if they had been able to get Rick Shields there.
Yeah.
Or even his brother.
Yeah.
For his funeral, at least. That would have been nice. But anyway, and so there's the scene with Carson and Elizabeth, and then Rosemary's talking to Lee, and then Lee says, "Oh, Jack was one of my best friends," and then she says, "Oh, I'm just doing an inadequate job, not good enough," and then this is when we first get the widows group meeting. With
I like calling it the Widows Club.
Widows Club. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And let's remember, so who's all in this? There's Florence,
Flo and Mo,
and Molly, and
Clara,
and Abigail.
And Dottie. Was Dottie there?
No.
Okay.
No.
And this was very sweet too, I think.
But like, everyone in that town is a widow except for Faith and Rosemary, right?
Yeah.
And Katie Yost. Katie Yost is not a widow.
Right.
Yeah.
She's single, isn't she?
Yeah, that's why she's not a widow.
Yeah.
Did anyone else notice how all of their husbands' names started with a P besides Abigail's? Because it was Paul, Patrick, and Peter.
I did not notice that.
That's the kind of deep cuts that we want in this podcast. I love it. That's really good.
I was like, Paul Patrick Peter, and then she said Noah, and I'm like, no, you don't fit in.
Get out of here, Noah. Or you should change your name to Poa.
That's hilarious. I love that you noticed that. What do you think of the Widows Club?
Oh, I thought it was fantastic that they had something like that. Although I have not gone through losing a spouse in that way, I've gone through divorce, and I know it's not the same thing, but
There's a loss.
Yeah, and I literally talk to everybody because that's usually how I deal with things. It's like everybody's going. Basically, I've gotten better as I've gotten older, but it used to be that I just about tell everybody my life story, and I wanted to talk about it with everybody, and they were going to hear about it. I'm
sorry.
No, I know. So I think something like that could have been very helpful. I know that I had to go to therapy for a while, and it was a good thing.
Yeah.
And
hey, I have too. Nothing wrong with that. So I think one of the women also say, open your heart. I was finally ready. I think Clara says it. I was finally ready to open my heart to love again. I'm like, wow.
They're really packing it on.
Yeah. Like them start a romantic, I mean, they're not going to have her have a romance when she's pregnant. That would be weird, right?
Yeah.
I really hope that they really don't bring in any romance. I would personally would like to not see any romance for the next season. I don't think I'll get that wish. I mean, from as far as Elizabeth goes.
I would also be fine with if they did like a time jump and it's like 5 years later. The only downside to that would be we'd have to recast all the children.
All the kids,
right.
And the children are like really good. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a good
Don't do that. Okay, I was thinking about this today because I was watching a very dramatic tribute video to When Calls the Heart. Great job to whoever did that. If I had it available, I would shout you out because it was awesome. Where is Gage, Emily's older brother? Can we get him back, please? Like, he could have just, like, gone off someplace so he can come back, and then he could have a cute little teen romance as, like, whatever. How old is he now? Like, 18? Cute. Adorable. Let's make it happen.
They need some teenagers in this town.
Yeah, because I feel like you said, like, I don't really want Elizabeth to be like, boom, 8 months after my husband died, I'm married to the doctor over here. Like, that's not okay. But, like, I could really enjoy a secondary storyline of like a little teen like first love. That would be adorable. Yeah. And like a nice way to really lighten the show, make it so that they could possibly even like drag in some new little fans. Because you know, kids love watching teenagers. And then also, you know, something new and fresh like spring.
Well, see, they need to bring back Cody's sister. She needs to be done with college and come back to town.
Oh my gosh, Cody's sister and Emily's older brother.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
Bam.
And they could even like meet on the stagecoach on the way in.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
Rosemary decides that she's going to take the kids and they're going to learn like woodworking skills because she just needs to do something different. And you must have liked this, Amber, who is there to help teach them how to woodwork. We have
Father Christmas, aka Henry Gowen. I loved it. And I also made a terrible joke to my mom, and I said, you know, if there was going to be one guy who's going to run a sweatshop with children, it would be Gowen. Obviously he wasn't, and he was actually being really nice and super sweet and helpful. But my joke was funny.
You have to make jokes during these troubled times.
Yeah.
Help get you through it. Yeah. What do you think of this, Amy?
Oh, I thought it was great because I think when they were presenting it to Elizabeth and she looked a little surprised when Lee said, "Oh, it was all Gowen," or whatever he said. And I think that him doing this is just another little, a little to the town accepting him again. It's just another little notch on his journey to acceptance by everybody.
I think so too. And so, yeah, he helps them make a wooden sign that says the Jack Thornton School, and Abigail is the mayor. They present it to Elizabeth, and Abigail as mayor declares that the school is officially the Jack Thornton School. And that's when Elizabeth decides to come back and to teaching, and it's very sweet.
Yeah. Also, it was so funny to me when they were getting ready to present Elizabeth with this commemorative plaque, and like everybody was like, "Oh no, it wasn't me, it was you." It was, "Oh no, it wasn't me, it wasn't me. It was somebody else. Don't worry about it." And part of me was like, how terrible is this sign that nobody wants credit for it? And then it was lovely, so obviously wasn't that, but it was so funny when they're like, "No, it wasn't me, it was Gowen. Obviously this was Gowen's whole doing." It was really funny.
Yeah, that's true. That's really true. Yeah, and it is cute because since Jack is the one who got the school built in the first place, it's very cute. Yeah. Okay, and then we got our final scene with Elizabeth talking to the Widows Club again, and then she's telling Abigail, "Oh, look, I'm feeling nauseous. I don't have any appetite." So, yep, she's preggers. Very exciting.
Okay, I'm sorry. How did Carson miss that? That still is a question.
Yeah.
I mean, Elizabeth is right there.
Yeah.
And Elizabeth's saying, "I have no appetite." And Carson's just like, I mean, please. Why did you not think about that? I was waiting for Carson to say, "Oh, we should do a pregnancy test or something."
Well, evidently none of the married women in this town get pregnant, so maybe he just doesn't know.
Yeah, I mean, like, he's like, I was a surgeon. Obstetrics was not my specialty.
and I'm not trying to be mean. Honestly, I just was a little bit surprised. I realized they wanted to say it for the end of the episode because it would be more dramatic. And I guess Carson was busy thinking about that Elizabeth was missing Jack and remembering his wife, and so he wasn't thinking about that he was just thinking, "Oh, she's not hungry because she's so sad,"
which is a legitimate thing.
Yeah, I mean, so I mean, I can see that, but it's just, I thought, Carson, get on the ball. You know she's pregnant.
Literally half of the people in the town the town is apparently Facebook and Twitter.
Right. Yeah.
Half the people in Twitter last week were like, "She's pregnant. If Jack's dead, she's pregnant."
Yeah.
Like, they all knew. Why didn't you know, Carson?
Right.
Check your Twitter sometimes.
Yeah, right.
Amy, are you glad she's pregnant?
Oh, I'm so happy she's pregnant. Finally, we're getting a baby in this series.
Yes.
I still wish it was Rosemary. Hoping for like a scene next season, maybe when Elizabeth has the baby or whatever, and then Rosemary's just like, "Well, maybe you can give me advice," or something like that, and that's how she tells everyone she's pregnant or whatever.
That would be super cute. I can see that. Yeah.
That would be.
All right.
I just think it would be kind of fun if it's like Rosemary and Elizabeth.
Yeah.
But like, remember in Father of the Bride Part 2, where they're both pregnant and just like miserable, and like, can you just imagine like Hickam being like, "Let me put a pillow behind you, Rosemary. Like, let me do all of your bidding for you, Rosemary." And then that could be when Hickam and Elizabeth fall in love.
Hey, I'd watch that.
I mean, like, to be fair, though, wouldn't the audience, I think, be less angry if it was, like, an accidental fall in love with Hickam than if it was, like, a completely strategized fall in love with Carson?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm more authentic, yeah.
I'm not on the whole ship between Elizabeth and Carson. I'm not on that one.
You don't think?
I'm not saying he has to be with Faith, because of course, I've still like, let's go get
Sophia.
Yes, let's go get Sophia. I'm still fine with have Sophia come visiting, and maybe she can help, design some buildings. They need that ice cream shop, right?
Yeah.
They need Rosemary's Theater. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah.
But also, I just want to say officially and forevermore, I don't know what ship I am, but it's coming out of Port Hickam.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I don't care. It just
Okay.
needs to be Hickam needs to have a romantic storyline next season, or I'm going to quit like all these other quitters.
Well, and I say Flo and Mr.
Yost. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hashtag Flo
Definitely.
Yost season 6.
I mean, I am so with that. Definitely.
It would be adorable.
Yes.
A double wedding with Flo-Yo
Yes.
and Hickam and something.
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
know.
whoever you put with.
Well,
your
I think we're also going to see Clara and Jesse. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you got
Mhm.
a triple wedding. There you go. Why not?
Like, they're like, you got mad at us last season because we took so long for weddings. Boom, wedding. Boom, wedding. Boom, wedding. It'll be like
Yeah.
That's where you
the
have
finale of fireworks.
3 weeks of weddings.
I could even see Bill and AJ.
Bill and
Possibly.
AJ.
Then they all get pregnant. Before long, you have all these kids in your belly. It's like you have all these little babies, and
It'd be amazing.
Start a preschool.
hey, well
love
then
it.
maybe they can bring Charlotte back, and she can. I know she's going towards art, but maybe in the meantime she could start a little daycare.
Yeah, hey. There you
Be
go.
ahead of your time. Hey, if you're gonna have that many kids, and you're gonna have that many women who are out there working, you need something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's official, though. They need to do another romance with some of the men they have on hand,
Yes, I agree.
and or / just mostly and bring in some other male characters.
Yeah.
Because really right now we have as like actual main characters that we see consistently Bill and Lee,
Mm-hmm.
and then we occasionally see Jesse,
Mm-hmm.
and very rarer we will see Yost and Hickam.
Well, and
Yeah.
Carson.
Yeah.
Oh god, I forgot about Carson. You guys, that's
Yeah,
because I just have already married him off to Sophia.
Yeah. Well, now with Hickam, see Hickam, the easiest person to marry him off
Gowen.
to would be Katie Yost.
No, but Katie Yost was going on dates with Lee's other assistant, the curly-haired guy.
I know, but he's gone. He's like not even around anymore.
Yeah.
Did
so
he leave with the railroad guys? Like,
Probably.
where'd he
Yeah.
go?
We don't know.
Also, don't forget, we're having Emily's older brother Gage come back and have
right.
his own
That
romance.
would be,
So
that would be awesome.
whew.
Yeah, so you have Bill, Lee, Carson, Jesse, Gowen.
Oh, how did
Yeah,
I forget Gowen?
He's your favorite.
I know. Gowen
He's
and
like
Abigail,
on his own
right?
show to me. He's just like, it's just like the Gowen show and its spin-off series one called Butter.
Talk for a second about the season as a whole, okay? So they had this little video, whatever, a Facebook Live thing today. And so basically the whole purpose was to have Daniel Lissing and Lori Loughlin and Aaron Krakow on the show with Brian Bird, who was interviewing them, to explain why they made the decision that they made. My problem, I felt like the whole tone of this little press conference thing was very patronizing, was very like, well, actors have contracts and sometimes those have to be negotiated. It's just like, come on, we're not stupid. And I think it would have been much better if they'd been like, you know what? We weren't perfect. It didn't go exactly the way that we thought. People didn't like it exactly as much as we thought. Or we, I just feel like they were very like, once you come to understand what we did, then you'll agree with us. And it kind of irritated me because there's a lot of other things, because they were like, well, we could have recast, but that would mean finding someone else who's as good as Dan Lissing. Okay. And, or they could kill him, or they could have Elizabeth pining away. That was the 3 options that they supposedly had. It's like, no, there's another option. And basically, so they were like, well, so then we were just like, we're going to give everybody all the things that they want and then kill them. And it's like, I just think that they chose like the worst possible choice that they could choose of all the things that they could choose, because basically like and they compared it to Downton Abbey, and I have major issues with that. But basically, like, what they could have done is they could have had the wedding at the very beginning of the season, right? Or the end of, or the Christmas. They could have had the Christmas episode. They've known about this for a year. So they could have had the Christmas thing be wedding related, and that would have been great. And then they could have the whole season be about them and them as a couple. And then you have in the finale or whatever, you have in the final episodes, you have him get scarlet fever and Elizabeth is there by his side and he whispers his last loving words, and it's in the tone and feel of the show. That's the kind of show this is. You don't have a Mountie clipping along in the last 30 seconds of the second to last episode, 4 episodes after they got married, and just announcing it. Like, and a mudslide of all things. Like, it just was so like terse and cruel and not in the keeping of the show. And I don't think it's fair for people to pretend like the people that are upset, yeah, some of them are totally over the top with their being upset, and I totally get that. But I think that people that are upset do cause to be upset because of the choices they made. And I don't think it's fair to be like, well, once you understand the choices that we had in front of us, then you'll see and you'll agree with us. And that's just what kind of irritated me. And I feel like that there's a lot of, I don't know, I just feel like there were a lot of other things that they could have done to have made it a lot more gentle, because if they were supposedly using Downton Abbey as their point of comparison, first of all, everyone hated the way they handled Matthew Crowley's death in Downton Abbey. Nobody was like, oh, wow, that was so handled so effectively. Like, nobody in the fandom liked it. So if you were expecting a positive result, you had to just look at the response to Downton Abbey, first of all. Second of all, Downton Abbey had multiple characters die. Even that, spoiler alert for Downton Abbey, but even that season, Sybil had died, a major character in the show. Second of all, Downton Abbey, there were multiple couples that you're invested in, not just Mary and Matthew. You had Sybil and Carson. You have the Bates. You have a number of other characters. You have the parents. You have a lot of other characters that you care about. Whereas, like with Wind Calls the Heart, Elizabeth and Jack are the show, and so it's like for a lot of fans. So it's not fair. It's not a fair comparison to make. And it wasn't handled nearly as well as Downton Abbey, because Matthew Crowley got to actually to meet his son and like be married for like a tiny bit at least. And I don't know. So I thought it was irritating. I didn't like the press conference. And I think that people that are upset have a right to be upset, even if they're a little over the top. So there you go. That's my speech. I don't know. What do you think? I know, Ruth, you feel very differently. So what do you think is a counterpoint to what I said?
No, I have absolutely no problem with people being upset, even being over the top. I have no problem, because as I've tried to point out to people, all the feelings are valid, and I have no problem with you expressing your point of view to me. Mm-hmm. My concern is that people are doing a lot of posting without thinking, and without I feel like some of the people, and I'm not trying to be mean in this, but I do feel like some of the people are trying to deal with the feelings online, on Facebook or on Twitter or on Instagram or wherever they choose to, rather than, so they're putting them out there, these very raw emotions, without actually stopping and thinking. And then my concern for them would be that they're going to, because they're not thinking about what they're saying, and they're not thinking about what they're saying might come across the wrong way. I mean, I guess that's something I've learned You have to be really careful about what you say, because what you say, even if you're really careful, someone's still going to take it the wrong way. I realize that. But you want to make sure that you're not coming against. That's why I have no problem with what you said. You didn't come and say, well, the cast was horrible and terrible. And what you said was very valid. And I have absolutely no problem with someone stating their views in the way that you did. It's no problem at all. Just because I choose to view it differently, that's okay. And I just want people to think before they post.
Yeah. That's
because what's going to happen, I would feel horrible for them. You think about it, 5-6 months from now, those posts that you put there, and when you weren't really thinking and you were feeling really down, could come back to haunt you, and you don't want that. I mean, you don't want that to, and you certainly don't want to end a friendship over this. I mean, I'm afraid that there are going to be people who are so over the top with what they say that it's going to cause the end to long-term friendships. And I would hate to see that happen. What
do you think about this? Did you watch the press conference thing?
Yes, I did. And I was kind of in, like, I see where both of your points lie. I was a little, sometimes, like, some of the things they said, I think they were a little, like, just trying to really hit home of, like, not being angry, but they were also saying all your feelings are valid. And I don't know, it was okay. I don't know how to say, like, it was okay. I enjoyed seeing the three of them together and seeing, like, oh, they still have, like, a good relationship together, even though this happened, and that they are supporting Dan, and also that they said that they've been thinking about this for over a year now, and that to them, they've been able to work through this already, and we haven't had a chance to because it was so new to us. And I mean, like, 3 episodes ago, we're like, oh my gosh, they're married. It's amazing. Everything's going perfect. And now he's gone. And we haven't had that year to think it over. And I like that they brought that up. But also, I think some of the things they said were like, don't be mad at anybody. So,
yeah. Amber, you didn't get to see it, but what are your thoughts on the season as a whole and kind of the way they handled this whole departure of Jack?
I'll take the question in 2 parts. The second part I will address first, which is I feel like as a social media front, their whole social media initiative and their campaign for the past couple of episodes has been terrible, and they handled it quite poorly. You know how I felt about it last week. I feel the same kind of way about this. Have a fun Facebook Live thing after. That works. That would have been fine if they hadn't built the fans up into such a crazy pants frenzy the past week. Because by not just allowing the fans to work through it this past week and get to a point where they could just accept that he was dead this week and, like, work through the stages of grief this way, like, there were fans who were literally thinking, okay, if I tell them I'm quitting the show, then they won't kill Jack off on Sunday. Like, first of all, that's not how television works. And second of all, like, it was just a completely unproductive week with them kind of leaving the door open and, like, the hope for the fans that he would come back. And, like, you know, I'm like, I am proud of them for making the tough choice. And, you know, with the choice that I think will move the show forward, which is ultimately, you know, letting Jack's character die. But I feel like, you know, the Hardy Strong thing was over the top and ridiculous. And I also think that the whole not letting anybody in the cast say that he was dead was really poorly, like, a poor decision, especially since, like, they very clearly show that he's dead in the first 2 minutes of the episode. So it wasn't like it was building suspense for the episode. And I think it was a bad move, but, you know, good luck dealing with those irate people for the next 6 months. Should be fun. I hope you guys got your block ready. And then as far as how I feel about it, like you guys know, I believe World War I is super important and super worthwhile, and they could have accomplished everything that they did with Jack by having him go to World War I instead of the bogus Northern Territory fight, and it would have made so much narrative sense. It would have been classically dramatic and like a romantic way to die, not like in the mudslide that he almost died in season 3, but like in a mudslide, a new mudslide now, woo. But like if he had died for the king and country in the fields of France, like not just defending, like not just training Mounties and like a useless thing, but you know, like in the war, in World War I, defeating this would have been a much better thing.
Well, and having a 2-week wedding would have made total sense.
Yeah, and having the 2-week wedding would have made sense because it would have been he went to the training and then he had like 2 weeks of leave before he was shipped off to France.
Yeah.
Would have made perfect sense. And so, therefore, I am going to pretend for the rest of my life that Jack did in fact join the World War I. He was signed up. He enlisted. He had 2 weeks of leave, came back, they got married. He went off and she went with him to see him off to France. He went to France and he died in the trenches. And I will still believe that until the day I die because it's fiction and I can make up whatever I want to about fiction. So I am so sorry that he died in France, and I hope that they can win the war.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I mean, and for the record, Downton Abbey had World War I.
I wish there was World War I. I am an American history student, and I have studied a lot World War I and specifically America's relations with Canada, and like it just it makes me so mad. I'm like,
especially because this is the 100-year anniversary of the end of World War I, so it would have been like
exactly.
Yeah, I know.
You guys, I don't even know what you're talking about because he literally went to World War I and died in France. So I'm sure if this is bargaining or denial of the grief stages, but I feel pretty comfortable just staying here.
Yeah, I just would have liked it if they had been like, you know what, you guys made some pretty good points. We could have done a little better. We're not perfect, but we tried. We tried something, and we did the best we could. And I mean, I don't know. That to me would have been perfect. But
I think that's what they're saying. But I think the people who were on the PSA weren't saying like, don't be mad at us. Like, I think what they were really trying to say is like, you know, feel your feelings, work through them. We tried to do the best we could. We spent a year trying to figure out what the best solution was. For some reason, they forgot about World War I, which I'm just kidding. He went there. But aside from that, like, I can accept everything that happened in the show. I can accept all the things. I can accept that we're going to experience new stuff together as a team next season, I mean.
Next season, yeah.
I can accept that. I look forward to seeing what we do. It'll be interesting. But I think at the end of the day, what they were saying is like, don't be rude to Hickam on Twitter. Like, stop like calling us out and being rude because it's not going to change what we do. All it does is rude.
Well, and don't be rude to any of the actors, guys. Like, it's not their fault. They have no control over any of this.
That's true. That is true.
Just give your overall critique of the show and your analysis. Write a blog. Whatever, talk to us.
Feel your feelings, start a podcast. Maybe we'll invite you to join.
If you want to vent to us, go for it. We would be more than happy. Any of the four of us, just go for
absolutely.
it. Absolutely. We can take it.
I mean, don't be mean to Amy. Like, you can be mean to me on Twitter. That's fine.
No, it's okay. Be mean to me all you want. I've been making YouTube videos since I was 13. I can take it. Like, I've dealt with so much. Go for it.
Just because she can take it doesn't mean she should have to. She's too precious to be beaten up by you mean Twitter people.
Amy can probably take it more than all the rest of us. But no, seriously, we're happy to have a conversation. We're happy to have a discussion.
If you don't want to watch When Calls the Heart, don't.
That's right.
If this was the end for you,
yeah,
just let it be the end.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, move on with your life. Find something happy to watch.
Yeah.
I want you guys to only have fun.
That's right.
Yeah, there's so many things to watch. That's very good advice. But also,
here's the thing. If you are really invested in the future of your characters, I suggest that you watch Game of Thrones.
but Catherine Disher in our interview, which posted on Monday, and it was really great. If you guys haven't listened to it, she did say there was a big twist.
Oh my, okay. So,
but I think it's a happy twist. She seemed excited about it. So.
Okay, well now I don't think she'd be excited about if somebody was going to die.
You guys, so what I've heard is that there is a spell and it makes Nick have his British accent. Always.
That would be great. I would love that.
I know. I'm just saying it for you.
Yes.
That's not true. It's a lie.
I know it is, but that would be awesome. Okay.
I love him so much.
Anyway, but yeah, check out the interview with Catherine. It was so much fun. One of our favorites, I think at least one of my favorites that we've done. Was really, really a treat. Our episode with our friend Georgia Speech, where we talked all about The Good Witch. So you want to check that out. And and let us know what you think. Give us all of your feedback about the show and the finale. And we'll have a great discussion. It'll be really fun. And thank you so much, ladies, for joining us. It was really fun. And hopefully we'll find ways to, we know we're going to be seeing Amy soon to talk about the royal wedding. But hopefully we'll also be seeing Ruth in the not too distant future. So Ruth, where can people find you?
Find me on my blog, which is mydevotionalthoughts.net. There's a couple of big interviews on there. Talked with Pascal Hutton that just posted not too long ago. And there's one with Aaron Krakow. And there's plenty more interviews still to come. So that will all be posted on my site there. And then Facebook, I have a Facebook page, My Devotional Thoughts. And then on Twitter and Instagram, RuthHill74.
Great. And Amy, where can people find you?
On Twitter, Instagram, and Tumblr, I'm at It's Amy Craig. And then on YouTube, I'm youtube.com/weekendallstars. And I'm posting on this past Tuesday, I'm posting a video about a little bit what I thought about One Calls the Heart. Kind of just turned into a big promo for the podcast. And just me talking a little bit about how it reminded me of a personal loss I had. So that's what so if you want to go watch that was posted on Tuesday, and you can go check that out on my channel.
That sounds so good. Definitely check that out, you guys. All right, Amber, where can people find you?
As always, I'm at Amber Brainwaves on Twitter, and that's it.
Great. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews on iTunes and on YouTube, and I will be posting my review sometime on Friday of the new Avengers movie, so it'll be very exciting. So lots of fun stuff going on, and make sure you're subscribed to us on our social media at Hallmarkies Pod on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, everywhere, and that would be great. And thanks again, and we'll talk to y'all later. Bye!
Bye, everybody!
Bye.